Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third Doku Cafe. It's the webinar where we get together, connect with you all, and sort of build community and give you information about our documentary MFA coming up. So my name is Amin Kuder. I am program director, co-program director of the documentary MFA at MIU, Maharishi International University, with Stuart Tanner, who we're going to introduce in a bit. And we're both our lead in this docu-cafe. This time is on the life of a documentary filmmaker. I think this should lead to really beautiful stories and interesting conversation and insights. So thank you all for joining us and being here with us today. This is part of this docu-cafe is a series. So we've done AI and documentary filmmaking, the spiritual dimension of documentary filmmaking, the life of documentary filmmaker is today, and then we're going to have another one on December 3rd on how to apply or understanding everything you need to know about the documentary MFA at MIU. This is our webpage for the MFA in documentary film. During this time, you get to make documentary feature and 2 shorts. And we have a very special approach to the creative arts. We got this term from David Lynch, meditate and create. And so this is part of what we do at MIU, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. MIU, just so you know, is a nonprofit university accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. Well, today what we're doing is experience the world firsthand through storytelling and connection. We're going to learn about developing a rich blend of artistic, technical, human, and analytical skills that shape well-rounded, insightful storyteller, and find inspiration in observation, patience, and fold-in mystery of life. And we're going to talk about career opportunities as part of the life of a documentary filmmaker. This is a good moment to introduce my good friend and colleague, Stuart Tanner. And I'm going to be reading some of these things here. Texas, we've got Brooklyn, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Katie from Sacramento, Minneapolis, Chicago, Colorado, Ohio, Seattle, Surprise, Arizona. I think I'm seeing some people coming back to our docu-cafe, so it's really wonderful to have this. We have Atlanta in the house, Washington, D.C., good old Fairfield, Iowa, and Florida. So welcome, everybody. So great to have you all with us. So Stuart Tanner is with us today. He's a co-director of the program. Stuart, how are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, looking forward to this one, The Life of a Documentary Filmmaker, as we're going to do a little global kind of journey into documentary filmmaking and, building a career, creating a career, having a career, and all the amazing aspects of making documentaries. So, yeah.
Fabulous. You're looking cozy out there. Hope all of you at home are cozy. I've got a little tea.
Yeah, I have my Rooibos, which is a fantastic tea. Highly recommend it. It's caffeine free, very good for you. And yours is in a lens cup. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lens cup. I had to do that. So there's already some questions coming in the Q&A. Came late to the series. Is there a way to rewatch the first 2 episodes of the webinar? Let's address these things because we just are very proud and happy to have to show you that we've created a docu-cafe special page on the MIU website. So if you go to miu.edu/docu/cafe, you will get this page, and this is where you would have registered for this one. You can register for the next one, and you can rewatch some of the replays. So this one is a webinar that speaks about our program, and this is the first one we did, AI in documentary and spiritual dimension of documentary filmmaking. So if you want to rewatch some of these things, they're right there. Hope this helps. Stuart, I want to know what What is the life of a documentary filmmaker?
It's one of the best lives that you can live, in my humble opinion. I don't think there's much like it, really, in a way. And I would characterize it as, in a way, being a witness to almost the full range of human experience in lots of different locations around the world, different cultures, different climates, different environments, with lots of people that you get to know really well and spend time with. And then you create something from that that lasts and lasts. And everyone participates in that. You participate in that experience. The people that you're filming participate in that experience. You're telling a story, or you're exploring an issue. You're saying something, and you're saying something to have an impact, and that impact is on various levels: creative, maybe to do with an issue, maybe to give a voice to people who haven't had much of a voice before and want more of a voice, or want to share an experience, or because, you know, something needs saying. And there's a lot that still needs saying. And, you know, it's a huge universe, and there's huge things more to explore. And the life of a documentary filmmaker is one of many layers: creative, adventure, exploring, studying, researching issues, learning camera, sound, editing, composition, how to interview. It's such an incredibly rich life that it's impossible to look back and say, well, I wish I'd chosen something else. No way. Not even the glories of Tinseltown, as great as that is, as magnificent as that is, as creative as that is, I would still opt for, in a way, the authenticity, the realness, the immersion in the experiences that one has as a documentary filmmaker.
You know, for me, it's like it's very beautiful what you described. It's very true, and it's very real. For me, I went to engineering school as a student, undergrad, and then I came to MIU as a student, and I was studying business. And then I heard a presentation on the life of a documentary filmmaker. And up until that point, I didn't know what I really wanted to do in my life. I had so many interests, so many things. But then when I heard about the life of a documentary filmmaker, it just clicked for me. And the reason it clicked is because for my technical brain that went to engineering school, there was the fulfillment of having the cameras and understanding the technical levels of that, and troubleshooting and sound and editing and software. So there's like that technical mind is satisfied in one angle. Then I've been a musician, and I grew up in a house where there's a lot of art around, and that artistic skill of filming, of seeing things a certain way, of refining perception and looking into the world in a way that has all these beautiful images and sound, and creating a story, immersing people in it. That was there in the life of a documentary filmmaker. And I saw that there's this really genuine connection with other human beings on a deep level. Like when you're a documentary filmmaker, when you meet somebody at a train station or the airport, a random stranger, it's not the usual chit chat. You just naturally will go right to the depth of the conversation because you get trained to get to the heart of the matter, and it creates some beautiful experiences throughout your life. You know, like the skills that you learn as a documentary filmmaker give you the setup where it's the perfect mixture of technical, artistic, human connection, storytelling, travel, exploration. It's a well-balanced life. It's a well-balanced meal that has all the different flavors, and how satisfying it is. It is a life worth living. There's nothing like it. I don't think there's anything like the life of a documentary filmmaker. I want to know, Stuart, so tell me, do you have some stories for us?
Yeah, I thought, you know, in terms of telling, illustrating in a way the life of a documentary filmmaker. I thought for this particular one, I would delve into some of the things that I've worked on in the past for documentaries, and maybe going right back to the beginning when I was still sort of like just in college, and I had this idea that I wanted to make documentaries and all the rest of it. So I'm going to take you back to that beginning, and we'll start from there. So I put together a little presentation. It's just a little impressionistic kind of journey through some of the docs that I've made. And so, yeah, I can share that with you.
You have the ability to share. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Can do. Okay. So, yeah, DocuCafe, the life of a documentary filmmaker. So I'll just talk you through it a little bit. So that's me there in the middle, and I'm in the company of a troupe of shaman, exorcists, shamans. It's a very sort of closely related thing in Sri Lanka. When I was in college, I thought, you know, I was just finishing colleges, and I thought, well, I really want to, you know, work in documentary. I really want to create a career there. So how does one do that? How does one really begin? So I saw this little piece about these incredible ceremonies that took place in Sri Lanka. So I literally just booked a ticket. I had a friend who lived in Sri Lanka, so I stayed with him a couple of days. I said, where can I find these people? Where can I find it? And he said, oh, well, you know, I don't know, but go to a friend who lives on a tea plantation. Maybe they can tell you. So I traveled through the south of the country, and I went to visit this tea plantation. And there's this sort of tea plantation owner. And I sat there with him on this big, big balcony. And the sun started to go down over the tea plantation. And he started to tell me stories of his life in the tea plantation. And, you know, I don't know whether you know, but in Sri Lanka and other places, there's a lot of talk and sort of fear or concern about sorcery and magic and so on. So he started telling me his own experiences with that. And he was saying that, you know, his business wasn't doing well. It was all falling apart. He didn't know why. And then he consulted with, you know, one of these people from the troupe of shamans. And they went to the property and they looked around and everything. And they found he was with them, and they dug up this thing, and it was like there was a little brass plaque and there was this curse on it. And as he was telling me this story, the sun went down, and then the sky filled with these massive, massive bats. And they just like flew out of the orange sunset, and they flew over us silently. There was loads of them just coming over. And at the same time, as he was reaching the crescendo of his story, a frog jumped from a leaf, palm leaf nearby, and landed on his head. I know it sounds incredible, but it's actually true. And he did not flinch. He did not move. And I felt as though I had just gone through a portal into another world. And I had, actually. I had. And from that moment, nothing was the same ever again. Because the frog stayed on his head, and he continued to tell the story of how he got them to do some ceremonies and everything and remove this sorcery, and everything started to turn around. And he said, I'm an educated person. I was educated in universities in the West and stuff, but I had this experience and I couldn't explain it. And then in the distance, we heard the sound of drums way off in the distance. And he looked at me and he said, that's it. That's them. They must be doing a ceremony. So he said, go now, go. So he brought one of his guys up on a motorbike. I got on the back of the motorbike, and we bombed down, up and down the hills of the tea plantation. And tea plantations attract thousands and thousands of fireflies. So you're bombing through the tea plantation, and there's fireflies everywhere. It's like a sparkling ocean under a starry sky. And there's the sound of drumming in the distance. I'm just going to go with this, see what happens. And so we went through these back lanes and all around and everything, literally just following the sound of the drums to find the sound, to find the location. And we just pulled into this village, and I stepped off this motorbike, and I was covered with fireflies, which were still growing. So I was like this sparkling dude that just came in on the bike, and they were just beginning a massive ceremony called the Mahasona ceremony, which lasts 24 hours. And the head exorcist was like, without a red scarf and all the rest of it, just walked up, looked at me. And I got the guys to explain that I was really interested in what they did, and I would like to be there and to witness it, and could I take some pictures and everything. And he just nodded and walked back. And so I sat next to the drummers, and basically that was the beginning of a 10-day journey. And I stayed with them for about more than a week as they traveled from village to village. And I'll just show you some of the images. They spend a whole day creating these incredible palaces out of banana trees, and they dress up and they do these dances, and they beat the drums and everything. And it's the most incredible, visceral, powerful, earthy experience one can have. Yeah, I literally felt like I could taste the iron, the earth in my blood, in my body. It was an extraordinary experience. I can't quite explain it. And they put on these masks and they do these dances, and they have this. You see what he's throwing into the flame? That's tree resin. When you throw it into the flame, it just goes whoosh, that brilliant burst of flame. And that's me with them. And that's the guy with the red scarf. He's the head exorcist. That's on the right is the patient who is being treated at the Mahasona ceremony. And then you see, one of the dancers just thrown the resin through the flame. So moving on. So I had that experience. It didn't end up being made as a film, but I learned a lot from it, and I learned that I loved, just adored the experience of dropping into another world and being with people, experiencing the life that they're living. I didn't, and I just stayed alongside them, and we just talked, and I just traveled with them, and they would just let me be with them, and just I witnessed many different ceremonies and different villages and everything, and it was a very powerful, life-changing experience, and it really brought it home to me what this could be, making documentaries. Anyway, when I left college, I went to Thailand first, ran out of money, then went to Japan, taught some English, earned some money, and then got the first job. And the first real job was in natural history, making a film about gibbons, the life of gibbons in Thailand. So that became a film called The Singing Apes of Khao Yai. And I was a researcher with my girlfriend, Jane Marie, and we spent 3 months in the jungle, walking around, observing gibbons, making notes, building treetop kind of canopy things where we could film from. So these pictures are not taken from the ground. They're taken from about 80 to 100 feet up in the rainforest. And the view of the rainforest and what you see in the rainforest that high off the ground in the canopy, that's where most of the life is, or a lot of the life. That's where an incredible amount of things happen. And so these gibbons here, which is a mother with a youngster, La Gibbons is from that, one of those platforms that we created. And just a few more images. And then, that became, this is still up on the production house's site. Anyway. Yeah, so the gibbons sing an incredible duet. It's the most extraordinary thing. So, yeah. So that took a long time to do, and it was like a 6-month to 9-month adventure, and became a documentary. It went to festivals and so on. Then the next, it's still there in the background. The next really big project was when I worked with a colleague, and we proposed to Channel 4 to make a documentary about the cutting down of mahogany in the Amazon, because it was being stolen from indigenous Indian reserves. And at that time, mahogany was worth so much money. A single tree could be worth $100,000. Single tree. So they, it meant that it was worth building roads into the forest in order to bring down those mahogany trees, right? So it was an extraordinary thing, and no one had proved conclusively that the mahogany coming to the UK and the USA was coming from those indigenous reserves. And we went to Channel 4 TV in Britain. We said, we're going to prove it. We're going to go, and we're going to get into a logging operation. We'll pose as economists, and we have a way of proving it. And at that time, the GPS had just come out. And so, that was our trick, that we would be able to go into the Amazon forest, be with the Amazonian Indians, which you see here on the right, left is the Kayapo that we spent time with, because they're near the river Xingu. And then on the right is a picture of the Arara. So I'm going to summarize things very, very quickly. That's me with one of the loggers just before we go into our first logging operation. They think we're economists, we're not. And it took us like 3 to 4 months of spending time in small little towns in the interior of the Amazon to make contact and befriend loggers and reassure them about what we were doing and so on. And eventually a couple of operations allowed us to come along with them, which was a real boon. It's just what we needed. But before that, we'd visited the Arara, and when we arrived there, you know, with having got the right permissions and everything, which you have to do, they said that they would introduce us to the mother of everybody. And so we thought, well, that's a title, you know, of an elder. And so, you know, we were brought along and we sat down with this woman, and they said, this is the mother of everybody. And then they explained the story of the Arara and the fact that the Arara had been reduced through disease, through conflict with loggers, all the way down to 2 individuals, this mother and his son. And so it's like an origin story, because the mother and the son became the origin of the tribe growing again. So she was, in fact, the mother of everybody. And there were about 60 people there, all of whom were related to the mother of everybody. So again, it was an incredible experience, and very powerful. And so we spent time with them, we spent time with the Kayapo, and both of them had problems with people building roads into the reserves to get the mahogany. And once the road's built, everyone else pours in, cuts down the other trees, and suddenly the indigenous reserve is overrun and lost. So it was a big deal at that time, mahogany. The dynamics have changed now to something else in terms of why the Amazon is still disappearing at an alarming rate. But in the end, it took us a year to prove that the mahogany was coming from indigenous reserves. But we did do it. We did get into different logging operations and use the GPS to prove that these logs were coming from inside indigenous reserve. We followed them all the way back to the exporters who exported to the UK and USA. I've done a lot of investigative documentaries in different countries and so on. So we could go into a number of those in the West Bank, in Israel, in China 3 times. One to make a documentary about the persecution of the Falun Gong, one about the persecution of the Uyghurs, one news feature on that won the Amnesty International News Feature Award, and the West Bank one was the Correspondence Story of the Year Award. And so, you know, I after a while, one was asked to do things as well. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of different other documentaries, but I just wanted to delve into one of the more recent ones, which Amain worked with me. We worked on together about called Seeds of Sovereignty, which is about the battle between the US to defend its biodiversity, Mexico's battle with the US to defend its biodiversity, food sovereignty, and cultural heritage, because the US is trying to force Mexico to adopt GMO corn and industrial farming practices and extend them, and it's a threat to traditional agriculture. And it shows the whole relationship between traditional agriculture, the cuisine, the high quality of the food, which is amazing. When it comes from the produce from these farms, that's one of the farmers there. And you know, the system that they use, where they grow beans with corn, they don't use much. They don't use pesticides, insecticides, all that. So you know, I think an important story that we worked on. You know, that's the trailer of it. We film in Iowa, and we show the industrial model at work in Iowa and the problems with it, and the glyphosate, the pollution, and all the rest of it. And then this is some of us when we're filming there. Samin, myself, and Cody, who's also faculty at MIU. There's Paulina, who's part of the crew, and so on. So, you know, there are many more docs and so on in different countries around the world and so on. But I just wanted to give just a little flavor of, you know, that aspect of the incredible places one goes to, the incredible stories that one is films and, in a sense, carries certain responsibility for, to get it right and to do a good job and to represent the people and the stories and the issues, which, you know, is a really amazing thing to be able to do. So, yeah, just a very, very quick tour.
Very special, Stuart. Very special. You've had so many different experiences and so much depth to the work that you've done. Have any, like for the Mahogany film, for example, what kind of an impact did that film have when it came out? It came out with BBC, is that right?
That was a Channel 4 Dispatches, which was a current affairs series at Channel 4 at that time. And I did a few of those, actually. The one about the Uyghurs was also, who live in northwest China, was also a Dispatches. Yeah, I mean, it certainly put a lot of pressure on America and Britain not to buy the mahogany that was coming from illegal logging. And it just exposed how they, you know, used paperwork to false paperwork saying that it came from a legal source, whereas in fact it didn't. So we exposed all of that in the documentary. So I think it had an impact, and certainly a tightening of the rules. And I think, you know, a lot of people became aware of the damage that buying mahogany was doing, because it's not a plantation tree. You can't grow it in plantations. You know, it's like the king of it's a really an incredible sort of tree that only grows a certain amount in the right conditions in the rainforest. So I think that's had an impact for its time. Then things move on, and other factors came into play as regards to affecting the Amazon. And so, you know, you have to constantly be moving with that.
It's pretty incredible. Let's see if there's any questions that are coming from our guests here, or comments or anything like that on any aspect of the stories. I have some stories myself I could probably share as well. Well, it's like while the questions are going to be coming in. Oh, well, here's a question. What was the most profound experience you've had while making a doc?
You know, I sometimes ask that, and I find it very difficult to like locate one that I would say is the most incredible or potent or so on. I mean, in a way, part of what I'm saying is that each time you make a documentary, you have something of an incredible experience, which only partially gets represented on the screen. Your experiences are far deeper and much richer than what gets on the screen. What gets on the screen, I mean, is still rich and can be potent and compelling and important and so on, and creative. But your own personal experience is like so much more as well, because of all the time that you invest with people and everything. I can certainly share some of the, parts of the different spectrum of the experience. Some of it's quite tough. So there is that. I mean, my particular choice was to make investigative documentaries and current affairs, as well as other types of documentaries. So sometimes you're in the company of people who have had a very challenging experience or situation to deal with. And so, I mean, I do think that, and this is something that will be part of the MFA that we're creating and will be teaching, that to go forth in a way to be a documentary filmmaker is a statement of strength as well, because you will be putting yourself in situations that can be quite challenging, ethically complex, demanding, mentally, physically. Believe me, going into the Amazon, sleeping in the hammocks, and being with loggers, it was very, very demanding. And then you come across like the stories of people which can be quite hard to listen to, but you're always got another purpose. You're not just listening, you're just not sharing the experience and so on. You're actually going to create something out of that which will hopefully have an impact and move something forward, or move the world, move the issue, move things in a way that is like positive and evolutionary and progressive for humanity. That's always the bottom line of my purpose in doing it. But there has been some very tough experiences, as well as was sublime and glorious and beautiful and heartfelt, to feel the appreciation of people who, if I take the Uyghurs for instance, who had hardly any attention on them. I read a 1-column article about their situation in northwest China, and at that time hardly anyone knew who the Uyghurs were and what they were suffering and why. And we went there with the support of Channel 4 News to make a documentary feature. I mean, to make a news feature, and to hear their stories. And we sat with them in the big Xinjiang, in all the different towns and villages around the Taklamakan Desert. It was the Silk Road, basically, and hear their stories. And some of the stories were very heartrending and tough. So the range of experience is really, like I said at the very beginning, the full range of human experience. And you're like the silent center, and you're expressing some real core deep value of humanity by being there, by caring, by wanting to do something. And documentary does play that role. It's not so much that it's necessarily has all the answers and all the solutions and is the fix in itself, but it's the wonderful process of being a wave that can move things. And that's what you're doing. that wave coming from a deep level is coming from the humanity of everybody, the people who are being filmed and also the documentary filmmakers.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to pinpoint one profound experience, right? But the wholeness of it all is the profound experience. Each film that you make will have something new, something profound that you get to experience. I'm reminded, I was filming in India, and it was for a company, Heavenly Organics, that goes into conflict zones, and they hire people to collect honey in a sustainable traditional way by climbing the trees and picking up just parts of the hive so that the bees can keep going and pollinate. And I remember I arrived there. I can show some images from this filming. Let me show you something here. This is what a a natural beehive looks like in the jungles of India. And when we were out there, they told us that they spotted tigers few hours before in that same area. And we were also in the next light region. There was like a conflict. It was conflict zone. So these guys go up and collect.
They go out again and start collecting nectars because we took their rainy day food. That allows bees to go pollinate in the process all these species of plants that are found in the jungle. Without the bees, we would not have so much biodiversity.
मक्खी से का फायदा है, सब चीज को फायदा है। जब फूल आता है तो ये फूल के वो फूल में जाएगा तो फल लगेगा.
So this farmer, this honey collector, the company has been going to this area, and he's been somebody that's worked with them for a while, and they pay them well and all of this. But this guy had never invited the company to go to their home. And the day of the filming, they gave us all, like, what do you call it? The protective suit to go and, because the bees can get wild and crazy. And I told them I just only wanted the top part. I said, I don't need the bottom part. I'm wearing thick jeans. And of course, that wasn't a very good idea. So the minute he went up to the tree, started to collect the honey from the hive, the bees were going wild. And of course, I got stung. But everybody went running, but I kept my camera and I was holding my shot, filming this guy climbing the tree and collecting this honey. And at the end, he came to me and he said, now we're brothers. You got stung by the same bees I get stung by. And he invited us to his home, and we got to film the whole process of where the honey gets collected, and then it goes all the way to the homes, and it gets cleaned up. This is,
but now they have a new
honey after he gets home.
So this is his wife.
Use a mulching cloth to get rid of the foreign materials.
Show you how they strain the honey, and we got to do an interview with his wife and see his home that he had built based on collecting all these things. So there's something really powerful about that. I know we have a backlog of questions and comments, so let's get through them a little bit. So that's about the profound experience of a documentary filmmaking, is that you make connections that you would never make. And every film will give you something profound to experience. So how do you maintain safety while exposing big companies?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, you have to, if you're working on a sort of current affairs, or, well, one thing is you need, it's good to have the training as regards to how you handle issues where you're going to basically set out evidence that or an argument backed by evidence, which a company is not going to want to, is not going to like. And you have to be sure that you're on a firm footing. If you're working for a big broadcaster, then they have lawyers and you have a legal indemnity. So everything that you do is checked by the lawyers, and you have to have a strong case if you're going to do secret filming. It has to be justified because it's in the public interest. So there's a process to go through as regards to the legal side of things, so that you can be on firm ground when you make accusations or reveal things or expose companies, individuals, whoever. And so, that is an important aspect of it. And there are things that one needs to sort of learn as regards to, or understand, the sort of journalistic side of it in terms of fair representation, something called the right of reply, and, all these other things. And then, yes, usually legal support if you're with a broadcaster and so on. If you're not, and you're taking on a documentary where you're going to be highlighting those things for big companies and powerful sort of forces, then it is something you have to consider very carefully. And you may well need some form of legal indemnity. And that should be a part of your calculations when you're going into it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a lawyer, but you certainly need. It is an aspect that you do get trained in or need to learn about, and it certainly will be part of the MFA for that reason.
Yes, understanding these boundaries and where you're set, and making sure that you're getting release forms and doing all of these different things. It's a craft.
In terms of our advocacy for the MFA and being a documentary filmmaker and everything, we certainly espouse the values of, truth, accuracy, fairness of representation, and all those core values which are, cherished in any free thinking and free democracy and liberal democracy. And that's what we want to be out there and represent, and it's so needed.
And beyond that, I think the element of having critical thinking, being able to for yourself, being able to decipher information, to understand when something is accurate, when it's not, to do due diligence in your research, even beyond what you actually believe. Sometimes you believe in something and you do the research and you find that it's a different way. You can still have those beliefs and feelings about the situation, but when you make documentaries, you have to be fair in representing the different points of view and things like that, particularly with current affairs, as you were doing. Stuart, we still have a backlog of questions, so let's do like a little more rapid fire answers. So there's one, which is there a challenge if you're following the life of one character, or should you branch out your characters if there's only one? Can I take this one?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I would say sometimes I've made a lot of films on artists, for example. So that's where you really have like a main character that you're following and you're basically telling the story. But it's always important in storytelling to have your main character as your protagonist. There should be some kind of antagonistic force facing that character, and there should be some kind of side characters to allow your story to breathe through them. So you're telling the story of your main protagonist, but you're giving context through your other characters, or you're bringing more depth by covering the issue from different places. So you can absolutely just follow one character, but inevitably you will end up exploring additional characters or at least context. I'm speaking about character in the broader sense. I'm making a film about an Algerian musician. I need to give context for Algeria to people, and I need to give context for how that artist emerged in Algeria. So then I'm interviewing journalists, I'm interviewing actors, I'm interviewing like a security guard to kind of give us a full sense for that context of how this artist came to be in Algeria. So there's things like that that you have to follow. So it's not just about branching out, but it's about giving more depth to your story, I would say. Hopefully this answers the question here. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. If it didn't answer it fully, please give us a follow-up to it. Here's one more side. This was maybe like more of a comment. On the plus side, I don't see documentary filmmaking being in danger of the AI paradigm. Well, we spoke about it quite deeply in the AI and documentary filmmaking. But the way we see it, at least from our end, is that AI is a wonderful tool to support our research, to support our, create efficiencies. But there's always going to be a need for real stories, real humans. And I think most likely, as the world becomes more artificial, people are going to be craving something that's more real, more raw, more visceral. And documentary is there for it. So, okay, the cost, I'll let you do this one, Stuart. The cost of a documentary, is it affordable to do one? And how do you pay for it? And then somebody else asked within this range of question, what kind of funding do you need to do a small documentary?
Yeah, well, there's lots of different paths. I mean, I always worked with, in the UK, when I was based in the UK, I was always working with broadcasters. So really you're pitching documentary ideas to them. To start off, I funded myself. Okay, so I funded, going to Sri Lanka, doing the research there, and I researched other stories in Thailand about Buddhist monks, about this or that. I just threw myself out there. I funded it all, ran out of money, taught English in Japan for 6 months to earn some more money. I went straight back into getting into the industry and everything, and then got a break, which is the working in natural history to start with. So all that was funded by oneself to begin with, but then eventually you can pitch a story to commissioning editors at broadcasters and so on. Perhaps particularly in the UK. I think in America that's also true, but I think it's also true that there's more of a seeking of grants and sort of foundations and sort of individuals who will support documentaries in America. So you've got the avenue of foundations, grants, broadcasters, and individuals who want to support an issue and so on. One of the ways you can start a documentary career is by working with an NGO that needs media content, and you might not get paid much, but you might be working on a campaign and get experience and so on. And I did some of that myself. That's how I actually got into the mahogany story, because I worked with campaigners to begin with and did some filming for them and made short pieces for them. And that evolved into a big pitch to Channel 4 Dispatches about the Mahogany Project. So there are various sources of funding, but very often you're sort of kicking things off yourself, and it's the whole thing of sort of like being immersed, demonstrating, then you start the snowball, and bit by bit it picks up a little bit of speed, and then you find maybe you'll get a slightly larger commission and get a bit more money, and then you get a major commission like the Mahogany Trail, whatever, and then you crack that, and then you get more things coming your way, and so on, like that.
I love that, and the way I find it has been working, in my life in terms of like funding things. I have a triangle, and I have tiers of films that I work on. And so it's basically two triangles. Let's put it this way. The first triangle is people, project, money. And 2 out of the 3 need to be there. If the people I meet are really wonderful and they open doors, and the project is something I really care about, and I'm super passionate about doing it, the money can take the backseat. I don't need to be paid a lot, because I know that through the people I meet, through the passion I have for this project, I will learn so much and I will level up my skills, and the money is going to come. And it usually does. It's like similar to that story that you mentioned. You make short films. Sometimes you put yourself out there, and then you meet people, and it snowballs into something bigger and greater. So there's that. The other triangle it's the tiers of films that I have. So there's films that if they have all 3 things, people, project, and money, then those will be the first ones that I'll be working on. Because if I can make money while leveling up with people and while doing something that I really care about, that's the golden triangle right there. And you can hit that golden triangle more often than one actually thinks. The more you actually make films and the more you put yourself out there and people get to know you. Like, I personally don't even have a website, but there's every month I'm doing work, and it's constant, and it's all word of mouth, because somebody knows about you that you're doing this thing, and they go, oh, this person was great to work with, and they connect you to a bigger project like this. So that's one of the triangles. The tier of projects is, if I have a project that's absolutely a passion project, which I have this documentary about this Algerian artist, I don't mind that this film runs over time. And in fact, some documentaries benefit from this. Some, it's like you have to catch it while it's hot, but some you're actually seeing the evolution of this artist over 10 years. And there comes a point where you go, okay, now I've got to release the film and I've got to finish it up. But with this artist, I've had a relationship for 10 years. He's like the Bob Marley of Algeria, really famous artist there, fills up stadiums in Algeria, in Europe, in North Africa. And I grew up listening to his music. So anytime I get to film him and spend time with him, it's like a real joy for me, and it's a full-on passion project. So, he came to play in Canada. I scraped every single bit of miles that I had been accumulating to fly like on the cheap to just be there and film a concert and do some interviews with him. I was naturally going to Algeria. I took my camera with me, and then we did an interview, and he took me to his childhood home, and we filmed some more in there. We were filming a music video for him that was funded in the desert, and it was in the same town where he learned music and connected with people. So there's the documentary there. So if you actually look at how much money was spent specifically for the documentary, you'll find very little money. But it's over time, and it's about catching every single opportunity that comes your way. So this is a long answer to a short question, but if you have the basic gear, if you have a camera, a lens, a tripod, a microphone, a lapel microphone, and you have a computer to where you can edit, that's your base for making any documentary. You don't need to travel far and wide. Sometimes local stories have so much more depth than anything else. And once you start doing something close to home and you publish it on YouTube, you put it out there, you connect with people, boom, it opens up into different projects. sometimes you spend a lot of time on a proposal and you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And sometimes you barely say a word and both you have a project and money is rolling in. So it's a really interesting life that way. So funding for a short doc, it could be as cheap as having a camera lens, tripod, your own gear, and then just making it happen for yourself. Or it could be as expensive as, I don't know. There's some docs that are made for a few $1,000,000, for the big streamers and stuff. So the range is kind of infinite almost. If there's one mode of filmmaking in which it's easy to make things happen, it's documentary film, basically. And the skills that you learn while making documentaries really pay off, really move ahead. We've been talking for a while. Okay, I think there's one more question here. Is there a legal training with documentary program? And I think that was the question that came in when we were talking about the big companies. I don't know if we might have lawyers. We haven't.
It's not legal training as such.
Yeah.
If you're taking on big companies, then you sort of could do with the benefit of a lawyer and a check on that. Broadcast lawyer, that is, someone who works in the area that knows this stuff. That's something that gets checked. But there is training as regards to what you need to know about, the fundamentals of it, in terms of, the solidity of research, representation, right of reply, and, core things that if you're doing issue-based work or work in which you are making accusations against people, companies, or whoever, or putting arguments out there, then you do need, to consider those things. So there is training, but it's not a legal training, because that's another speciality for which people are, trained as broadcast lawyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Jose is saying he just recently made a film for $20K and it's been successfully submitted to universities, libraries, and different curriculum. And that's also the beauty of documentary, is that it's not like just lives in the festival circuit or anything like this. It's like it can go to universities, it can live on YouTube, and people will watch things. There's like many avenues for reaching an audience with documentary. There's never been a time where it's this easy to make documentaries and to share them with the world, basically. And then the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. All right, let me just give a few outro points here as we're wrapping up this session. Our next entry is February 2026. This is an important piece of the puzzle, by the way. And the reason being is that right now, there's still the availability for Grad Plus loans, but the Department of Education has canceled Grad Plus loans starting fall of 2026. So our next entry is February 2026. You can still get the Grad Plus loans, which will cover the cost of tuition and give you some extra cash to buy equipment or do things with it. So applying in February 2026 for the next entry is right now, unfortunately, the Grad Plus loans are gone, but there's the possibility of getting them. This is the only entry in which we can do this. So there's an apply button everywhere on the MIU website. So send in your applications. We look forward to talking to you. And, even if you're not ready to start right away and you're curious about deepening your understanding for the program, still apply and we'll talk to you and we'll connect with you. The Docu Cafe is continuing. Put in your calendars, December 3rd. We'll talk about the MFA specifically and We'll give you the most up-to-date information we have on the MFA, and it will be like very open to questions and seeing what people have in mind. You can find all the replays in the miu.edu/docu-cafe. This is this website here. This webinar is going to be edited. It might take a week or two, but then it will be posted here. And then this is our webpage for the MFA. Thank you all so much for staying till the end. But
we're always interested in yours, to hear when we speak to people who are thinking of joining the MFA and so on, or applying. We always sort of talk to you about your ideas, what you want to do, your aspirations and ambition in filmmaking and documentary filmmaking. So we're always very keen to hear about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have Calendly links on our DocuCafe page if you want to have like a one-on-one session with us. Thank you all so much. Really, really beautiful to have this.
Yeah.
All right.
For joining us.
Thanks, everybody. And we'll connect soon again. December 3rd. Bye for now.